Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. I'm going to react to Peter Breuninger's hi-fi system. Peter Breuninger, he's a hi-fi system reviewer. I think he's got two channels, AV Showrooms and then AV Equipment Reviews. I think so. But he's got one of the best systems ever in the world, and he's got an interesting room that comes with it. And I just want to comment on that and kind of give you my take on what I would do to improve the sound.
Well, that interview with Peter Qvortrup was fascinating. Can't believe it, about the bit rate. How about that? Very interesting. Here we have the Audio Note CD top level system. This is the level 5 and level 6. Now we're going to start over here. This is the power supply for the DAC. That's called the fifth force. The DAC, right here, is the fifth element. The DAC is based upon Audio Note DAC 5, but it's supercharged. It has the power
It's the best
supply
DAC in the world.
of an M9. It's practically on steroids. So they were looking for a name for it, and they were thinking, well, let's see. Quintessence is the fifth element, so hey, reading an article, let's call it the fifth element. Next day they were reading a scientific paper about force fields, and so they thought, well, fifth force for the power supply. These are very interesting DACs into the transport. Now the transport's a 2-unit transport. This is the CDT, CD for CD, T for transport, 6.
That should be the
And we
best
have
CD
over
player
here,
in the world.
the power supply for it.
Crazy.
They're connected by 3 umbilicals, the power supply, to the transport. What is very unique about this is this is not a standard, how can I put it, SPDIF handshake between the DAC and the transport. The standard gateway, or digital gate, as they say, between a DAC and a transport is usually a series resistor into a load resistor. What they've done is created a transmission line by broadcasting with a Telefunken EF800 tube between the DAC and the transport. So the handshake is occurring as a transmission line.
That was, by the way, a wooden board you looked
instead of
at
the
there.
standard digital gate with a series resistor. This makes a lot of difference. Adding to the profound nature of this setup is the CD6. It has a 32 kilogram or 70 pound sub-chassis inside.
Yeah.
Then it has a copper chassis surrounding it. It's well over 100 pounds, and as we were saying, it's very hard to pick up. You heard Peter say that. You don't want to pick it up. You will hurt your back. Together, there's 5 or 4 pieces. So you have to have the shelf space, or as we
Looks
like to
awesome.
display here, the great soundstage space, the room to set this up. As you can see,
Yeah, a bit like Negra.
very easy to work the machine.
Oh man, I'd love to have that. CD6.
Put the CD
God
in,
damn it.
hit play. You can do that via.
I've only heard up to, I think it was CDT 4 or 5. And that totally blew me away. That is the best CD player I've ever heard. So natural, so natural. Actually sounds a lot more natural than most top vinyl systems. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot.
Remote or with the front.
I just want to comment on that because the reason why I say that is because there are so many CD players out there that do a lot of fancy detailing, but they're just not. They don't have that calmness, that black level, that deep relaxing sound where you can just listen to all types of music. Many of them at the top, still in the prices of $50,000-$100,000 or more. They still have a tiny bit of plastic and an artificial amount of air, and they're very much about movement and pure detail and information. But the substance, the saturation of the sound, the way it settles and just makes all the weird and not so well recorded tracks out there actually sound really good, is it's almost an impossible thing to achieve with CD. CD is a really difficult and money demanding unit to get to play to at these levels.
Controls. Well, that completes the overview of the audio note level 5, level 6 digital componentry. Let's listen to some music. That's the best way to check it out. Here we go.
He's obviously very glad that he has this system. I also want to say it's a testament to Audio how good they are, that a guy who's basically listened to everything in the world chooses to have Audio Note gear at home. It kind of tells you that he knows what's best. Because this guy praises a lot of gear, and I'd say that a lot of the gear that he praises, I wouldn't quite agree, but you can tell that when this is his own system, that he thinks that this is the best ever. I like the face mask here. Is that African or what is that? You can try and comment on that below. That's interesting. Pretty good living room he has. What's over here? Oh yeah. I like these spaces. Where the hell did he get those from? Must cost a lot. Also how the carpet ends here on top of another carpet. That's also pretty cool. Wonder where this is in the world. Must be in the US. Yeah, must be in the US. Man. Good music. This is the stuff that probably would play at hi-fi shows. Good music, not just hi-fi music. Wish I had this room. It's almost better than Peter Qvortrup's room. Really good. Also notice this detail with the curtains. You know, you might think that's not going to do anything to the sound, but trust me, it will. With all of these windows here, it's going to take a lot of that harshness from the windows away. That is pretty smart. You can tell that he's married, and a lot of the decorating is done by the woman in the house. But it also looks good, you know? I mean, it looks good and it probably sounds amazing. I think this DAC alone, with this box, power box, I don't really know what the price is of that, but I can't imagine it being less than $200,000 or $300,000. I mean, that is the go-to reference DAC, and will probably be that for at least 10 years, maybe 20 or 30 years. He's also got some special feet underneath, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I saw a review with that. And actually feet, these special absorption feet actually make quite a difference on really good gear. Don't underestimate that. But then with gear like this, then you need the really expensive ones, you know. Just gives you a more clean response. Especially the tonality, it becomes less saturated and more informative and just finely layered and yeah, finely grained or whatever you call it. This is good. To die for the system. Also on my computer, I have this on my computer as the background image to kind of say to myself, you know, boy, you're getting this someday, even if you have to be 50 or 70 or 90 years old before you do it. This is like the end destination.
Okay, I just switched it off. What I heard was enormous harmonic integrity, particularly in the lower detail, in the decay in the tabla, and the bass and the guitar. That's the signature of analog, and that's what this system delivers. Now, we didn't talk about cost. This costs as much as a higher-end Ferrari. It's not inexpensive audio. This is made for a person who
at
wants
least
the
$1
very
million,
best
at least.
of everything. And I attest, this is the best digital system on the market today.
Not just back in 2016, it still is here in 2020. And I think it's still going to be the reference system for at least 10 years, maybe even 20 or more years. This is just it.
Several years ago, a fellow reviewer, Martin Collins, said the same exact thing. If you are in the market for the best digital front end, this is the best. Look no further. Audio Note Level 5, Audio Note Level 6. Peter Breuninger reporting for the conclusion of Chapter 2, Audio Note Digital. We'll follow with Audio Note Analog, and then Audio Note the loudspeakers themselves. So stay tuned in our series of Audio Note chapters, and shows.
That's a crazy system. Let me just jump back here. Where was it? Where was it now? That's a funny picture. So if I wanted to improve this, don't want a picture of his ass over there. If I wanted to improve this, the cable going between the CD and the power supply for the CD player, that's probably like 2 meters long. On a system like this, 2 meters is a bit long and is going to affect the sound. I can see the problem that he has with that it has to reach, but also think of that cable that he has there. It's going to cost like twice as much almost because of the length of it. So half that, you know, somehow if you had like a rack here, I would probably have like a rack, Artisania rack, and then I would have that and that right up next to each other on an Artisania rack. It would sound better than this, trust me. Yeah, I would go for an Artisania rack, put all of this in that rack. I think that's possible. Half the length of the cable, because when you half the length of the cable, you just get this coupling effect. So there's less noise, less, I wouldn't call it smearing, but you're deeper into the sound stage, you know? There's less negotiation. It's just more powerful. I would do that with basically most of these things if it was possible. What I would then do is I would place some IKEA boxes here on the inside, 1, 2, going up to about here. That would isolate the sound coming from the speaker on the inside, so you don't have all of this room here, because believe it or not, the sound can get a lot better with these wooden boxes here, 2 of those up to about here, and it also looks pretty good when you can do that on the inside and have, I don't know where the side walls are over here, if they're like 0.5 meter or 2 meter away, but you want to keep the speaker within like 0.5 meter of the wall if it's possible. You don't want to go to 1 or 2 meters because you're going to lose a lot of that naturalness and depth, and where it really settles. There's a lot of that bass that kind of gets sucked out a bit. And so, yeah, boxes, wooden boxes here, wooden boxes there. I would have like a solid, I don't know, brick wall or hardish wall over here and there. It also will make the speaker go down to a lower hats. And you could, in theory, you know, take the curtains and then like draw them close to each other. It would dampen the sound more. Notice that if you wanted to do that, you could want to do that. That would change the sound quite a bit. If you took all the carpets away from the floor, it would be a lot more bouncy and galloping and a bit more alive. But it would also be more aggressive. And that could also be very interesting to listen to, because I've listened to a very similar, several systems that are very similar to this level. And just by removing the whole carpet, it creates a lot more liveliness, and the sound, of course, will bounce all over the place if you can't control it. But notice the fact that he can, because he's got these soft picture images on the wall here, all over the place, and all this fabric. So he could actually do that. So I think, I can't see what power supply he's running, but I'm guessing that he's just running it raw with audio note cables. And you can do that, you know, then you get this soft, I wouldn't say soft, I would say kind of a heavy, raw, original sound, very saturated. It's all about the originality of it, and just being extremely released and not controlled by anything else. Extremely original audio note sound. I would do probably this, have those boxes, maybe remove the carpet, I'm not sure about that, have the Artisania rack here, yeah, and I'd be able to have everything in there and it would still look good. And then I would probably run with Oyede's power plugs, because I can't see what power plugs he's running with, but I'm guessing that he hasn't done a lot with that. That would really make the sound a lot more interesting and really give a lot more detail. And I would probably also put an isolate mini sub access box here, because that would create a sound that is more precise, where you can hear more precisely what's going on and the separation of the black levels. So that would make this awesome system actually seem slightly better. I'm pretty sure of that. And notice when you have all of this glass at the back, it kind of boosts the sound, so it can kind of counter-react the dampening effect of the floor. So if this just was a normal soft wall, drywall or something like that, the sound would be a lot more dampened in the room, and you would maybe not like that quite as much. Many people don't know this, but when you have windows, they have a tendency of psyching up the sound, propelling it forward, and making it more fresh and interesting. But it can also be very fatiguing, especially if you have too many windows, and especially if they're on the other side of the room, if they're right behind your listening position, then they can be very loud and almost like, yeah, it would just make it very uncomfortable to listen to sound. So a lot of interesting things to think about. And yeah, drop gorgeous system that I would like to own. Oh man, this is like beautiful system.